Good? Yeah. Whenever you're ready.
All right, very good. Well, we appreciate everybody being here today. I want to start off today by mentioning the start of the press release that the board released yesterday. It says the Board of Directors of Market Basket is sharing the following facts to correct the false public statements made by Joseph Schmidt and Thomas Gordon about their recent termination from the company. I think it's important to make clear from the get-go is that we have had no communication about our termination with anybody prior to this morning. So it's a false statement by the board. I also want to say that I find it odd that the board didn't put their names down of the individuals that are on the board. Jay Hatchigan, Stephen Collins, and Michael Keys. They just said it was from the board of directors. And I point those two things out because there's a lot of inconsistencies throughout this process, starting with the allegation that Mr. Gordon and myself were somehow complicit in organizing a work stoppage. After going through a Quinn Emanuel investigation and a 2-hour interview, there was not one credible piece of information to sustain that there was any type of work stoppage that either myself or Mr. Gordon were involved in. We told you 8 weeks ago that the allegations were preposterous. We tell you today that the allegations are preposterous.
I think Joe covered it all. We again, received notification yesterday that our employment was terminated. A little disturbing to get that after a 50-year career and 39-year career. So I guess we'll take any questions you have.
What does this mean for the future of Market Basket, the customers and the employees?
Well, I would say what it means for the culture of the company is that, in my opinion, there's 3 board of director members that essentially have taken control of the board, and they've also taken control of the company. And I'm glad you asked that question because the allegation was that we were insubordinate. So I guess our first question is, who were we insubordinate to? The director of operations and the director of grocery don't report to the board of directors. The board of directors has control over the CEO, the COO, and the CFO, not day-to-day management of the company. At least that's my understanding. So for them to say that we were insubordinate is untruthful.
Sir, just kind of a human element here. You both have worked for Market Basket for decades. Can you just go into how it feels to have been fired like this? You know?
It's very disheartening, given my life to this company, which I enjoyed, of my own free choice, obviously. But it's been a wonderful experience for almost 50 years, and to have a few people that say that we don't know very well to tell us that we haven't been doing our job and we've been insubordinate and we're planning some kind of a walkout is very, very troubling. You know, it's hard on the family. It's hard on everybody.
Will you take some sort of action to get your jobs back?
I think we're going to keep trying to get back inside. We'll see how that works out.
What do you know about the suspension of Arthur T. Demoulas? And is the allegation true that they said that, Joe, you went around saying that if Arthur T. was removed as CEO, they would lose their bonuses and profit sharing?
So that was an allegation made. At the best, that would be in response to a question, and it would have been something along the lines of, who knows what's going to happen. So the board, of what they've done in this investigation, this pre-planned coup, quite frankly, is they've put a bunch of allegations out there, and they're telling a story, and they're putting a narrative together, and have not met their prima facie case to establish that there was anything inappropriate going on. Now, if you read their statement, there are things in there along those lines, but it's a miscategorization of the fact. And you know, the other thing that I want to bring to everyone's attention is we were in the media making statements. I stand behind everything that I said in those statements. For example, they take exception to the fact that I called out private equity and the fact that those 3 board members are involved in private equity and venture capitalism. All you need to do is go to Jay Hatchigan's website on the Detmer law firm and see what his biography says. Those are his words, not mine. Talks about venture capitalism. If you look at Stephen Collins in Exeter Capital, read his profile. If you look at Michael Keys on Intercontinental, read his profile. So for them to say that me expressing my opinion about private equity and what that means and telling me that that was inappropriate, I disagree with it and I take exception to it, along with many of the other allegations that they made against me.
What do you think is actually happening? What do you think is actually happening here?
I'm sorry. Take
Are
you.
they just trying to silence you or anyone else who might speak out in the future?
I believe that to be the case. I think they're not only silencing myself and Mr. Gordon, but I think their intention, and they've made it clear to the organization, that they want to silence others. And that brings up a great point, because I want to mention that I made a statement in the media about a culture of fear, and they said that that's not true. Well, you know what? I'll let the facts speak for themselves. Pay attention over the next couple of weeks, because as more and more people speak out, you're going to get the truth. And it's not me that's telling a story. It's the board that's telling a story, because they don't want people to think that there's a problem in the company. They want to say that it's a vibrant culture, and it's just not factual.
Well, I was going to ask a similar question. What do you think is actually happening here, and why are they doing it?
I believe they are doing this at the behest of the three sisters, Frances, Gloria Ann, and Karen, of the Demoulas family. Those are Arthur T. Demoulas' sisters. They have hired the board of directors. They want their brother out of the company, and they want to instill Michael Kettenbach as some type of senior leadership role, whether it be CEO or some other position of authority.
Why are they going after you guys, though?
Well, they're going after us quite simply because Mr. Gordon and myself are very loyal to Mr. Demoulas and the management team. We stand by the culture which they represent. And this isn't just about Tom, myself, and the Demoulas family. This is about the culture of the company, the associates of the company, and the customers, and all of the suppliers that support the company on a day-to-day basis. And Mr. Demoulas' philosophy is that the shareholders benefit at the end of that order. And that's worth standing up for, because we have a special culture here. Mr. Gordon here has dedicated his life to Market Basket. I've worked with him for many years now. There's nobody I respect more in this company, and to let him go is a big injustice, but it also hurts Market Basket.
I think you asked a question a second ago about trying to keep us quiet. I mean, there was a pretty damning statement that came out last night from the board about us, our character, our integrity, and I don't know if they expect us to not respond to that, but I don't think either one of us is big on having false allegations made to us without some kind of response for it. And like I said, we've both given this guy as well as an awful lot of time to this company, and for the customers and for the associates of this place. And for those allegations to be made without any kind of response is not something that's going to happen.
You guys have been on leave for months. Why do you think they fired you right now, particularly?
Well, it's been 8 weeks. We've actually, to the day that we were put on leave for their statement of what the allegations were. I believe that the reason they did that was to essentially remove leadership from the company so that they could do all the things that they want to do that the sisters told them to do. So by having a gap in a time frame of, everything quieting down, I think they thought it would just kind of go away. And I think they've assured the sisters that, but that's my opinion.
I would agree with Joe. It's just a long plan that has probably been in motion for a long time to remove the boss and the top management in the company and instill the people they want.
At the top of this, you referenced an interview that you said lasted about 2 hours as part of this investigation. Can you tell us a little bit about when that took place and a little bit more about what that actually looked like?
Sure, that's a great question. That interview took place on Monday, and it's an interesting question that you asked, because yesterday I received information that last week there was a discussion in the office between two supervisory people that made a statement that there was going to be a board meeting on Friday night. And in conjunction with that, they made a statement that there was going to be some type of an announcement and a press release, presumably about us being let go. Our attorney also got information from Quinn Emanuel that said, we really need to speak to your people by Friday. Fortunately or unfortunately, he had a prior engagement that he had to go into. Then we learned that the board meeting was moved till Monday night, and that happens to coincide with the time frame where our interviews were. So basically, my interview started at 9 a.m. It was about 2 hours. The gentlemen that I work with, their interviews were after that. And there was maybe a 4-hour gap between the time that they concluded their investigation in terms of Mr. Gordon and my relationship with the company and their determination not only to get rid of us, but to promote people into our positions.
This is not the first time that you guys have been in a situation similar to this. There was the whole situation between RDT and Arthur S. back in 2014, where I believe you both were, or at least 7 executives were put on leave and terminated, and then brought back. Do you have hope that this family business will kind of rise above this once again? You'll be able to get your jobs back, your careers back?
Yes, there's always hope. We intend to be back. If somebody thinks that either Mr. Gordon or myself are just going to go away at this point without standing up for the culture of the company for a period of time, they're sorely mistaken. I'm not going anywhere, and neither is he.
No, this is a long-term career, long-term fight, and we're going to be in this until it's over.
Will you use litigation, you think? Is there an avenue for that?
We're hoping it doesn't come to that. However, we'll keep our options open, and we're hoping that this gets resolved in the right way for the best interest of the community at large, because this is about the community and the people of the community and the associates and the people that work in those communities and the future of the company.
Do you have a meeting set up at all with the board of directors or anybody?
No, in fact, it's interesting because yesterday afternoon was the first time I learned that probably was going to be terminated. I learned that through a memo that was distributed to the company that basically said that there was a new director of operations, a new director of grocery operations, and some other new title that I'm not even sure what it means, quite frankly. But that was the first indication that something was happening. And then after that, I got a call from Stephen Collins, the board member, to tell me that I had been terminated. That is completely countercultural to how Market Basket operates. We would never do that. You would inform the person if you have a disagreement with them. You would talk to that individual first. You would let them know that they've made a decision. But to put that out publicly and to show that our positions had been replaced before we were notified of the termination, that's disrespectful. To be quite frank, yesterday I got a note or a letter from a courier that came with a clipboard, and I had to sign for it. I'm sure you're all aware of that. I had more respect from the courier than I did from any members of the board of directors.
I would agree. I received the same copy of that letter informing that my job had been filled by somebody else in the company. I did not receive a phone call from the board till probably an hour after that. And I would agree with Joe. The guy who dropped off the package last night was very apologetic. He said, I just heard this statement on the news as I was driving over here. I'm so sorry I have to deliver this. I just was at Mr. Schmidt's house, and I'm over here. I said, listen, it's not your fault, but you're just doing your job. I get it. No hard feelings. But he felt certainly awkward about it, But it's just, can you imagine a company you worked for 50 years to read something that your job has been filled, and then you get a call from a guy on the board who's trying to be, well, I just want to let you know we appreciate all your time, and, it was, again, disheartening.
There's no direct correspondence to you, just the phone call.
Correct. That's correct.
What do you think the future of Market Basket is if you guys don't get your jobs back and if RDT doesn't come back? What is the future of this company look like?
Well, essentially, if Mr. Demoulas does not come back, the company's changed. That's my opinion. And it's not going in a very good place if that continues on the trajectory that we have, especially when there's 3 board members that, in my opinion, are completely out of touch with the culture of the organization.
Yeah, this is all about the culture. I mean, whether the business, in my opinion, can withstand its volume and whatnot, hard to say. But the culture of this company, without the boss, will never be the same.
Have you had any conversations with Arthur T since yesterday and your firing and what was the tenor of what you had to say?
Yeah, Mr. Demoulas was the gentleman that he always is. He was great. He expressed his dismay with that decision, expressed his support for my family, and that's the man that he is. And I will always stand by him because he's always stood by me.
Yeah, I same thing. Yeah, been a very, very short conversation, but very heartfelt and sorry this had happened. And I think the statement that the boss put out last night was tremendous, and it shows the kind of man he is and the respect he has for us as we have for him.
Who are the 2 people that took over your spots?
Kevin Fioli took over as the grocery director, and Chuck Asasa took over as the operations director.
What did they do before?
They both worked under me as grocery supervisors.
And I'd like to comment on that because, this whole assertion of the board of directors being so interested in the succession plan and speaking with management, I'd like somebody to ask the board of directors, what type of due diligence did they do to interview those individuals to take our positions? Because as far as I know, the board was in the office on the first 3 days when they threw us out, and maybe one board member was in there one other day. That's what I understand after talking to a couple sources yesterday. So, if they're so concerned about the future of the company and vetting people out, then why are they making decisions and putting them in place before they notify the people that used to have those positions? I take great exception to that.
Yeah, we would never put somebody in a position without notifying the person ahead of time, and it could be days or weeks before we filled that position. After that, we would never do anything like that. Like just said, very against our culture.
It's just not right.
Have you heard any indication, or do you just have a sense of whether we might hear similar news about RDT himself, whether he might be fired soon?
Nothing came up in the interview that suggested that. Quite frankly, I think it's a coup. I think it has been from day one. There's an agenda from the sisters to remove the boss. They've done that, and now the ball is in the board's court. And quite frankly, I'm just going to say this publicly. In my opinion, the board of directors, all three of them, Hatchigan, Keys, and Collins, they should all resign from their position, because what they've done is a tremendous disservice to this organization.
Joe, can you talk about the scope of that interview, the 2 hour interview?
I can get into it a little bit. I mean, it's this law firm, Quinn Emanuel, who's been named the most feared law firm by some entity out there, and Stephen Frank, who was the investigator, basically wanted to continue to ask the same question over and over again to try to get myself to change my answer to simple questions, along the lines of what I thought about the board and what type of information should be provided back and forth between the CEO. I'm not a board member. I'm not a upper member of management in the CFO position or an officer of the company. So I don't know why they were spending so much time on that, other than that they're going to try to use it to discredit Mr. Demoulas in some way, shape, or form. But the fact of the matter is that there's nothing there. So in my opinion, the whole thing was a waste of time. And to be honest with you, I waited 8 weeks, just under 8 weeks, to have this interview. And I think that, somebody could have easily completed that investigation in a week.
Yeah, I found the questions to be, I don't know where the questions came from. I assume from somebody on the board or from the board, but they just had really very little to do with a lot of the investigation. It was asking me questions about what I do when I'm involved in stuff, and had they known or spent any time looking into that, they would know exactly what we do there, and we could have avoided a lot of those questions.
Back in 2014, there were employee protests on the first RDT situation. Why do you think there haven't been any of those this time? Is it a change in culture or something? What's different?
Well, I think this, in my opinion, this culture of fear that's gone on. People have seen people get knocked out. If you support Mr. Demoulas and the new leadership team's in place, they put you on the bench. No different than what they did with Mr. Gordon and myself, Mr. Paul Quigley, Mr. Alvarez, Mr. Desheen, and on and on and on. So I think that kind of stifles people from speaking their mind. And the company has always been a place where if you had a question, you could reach out to somebody. Now that culture has changed. So when Jay Hatchigan says the culture is vibrant, it's far from it, in my opinion.
Two comments came from the board directed at Tom, saying that you were feeling out where people's stance might be with the company, and that if you weren't on the right side of the fence, that it wouldn't look good for you in the future. And then there was a comment that you supposedly made about the sisters, three sisters being evil. And what are your thoughts at seeing those remarks?
Sure. Are your questions directed at Tom or?
Yeah, well, either one of you can, but Tom seemed like he was singled out for those quotes.
I believe I was asked a lot of the same questions by the interviewer, 6, 7 different ways, trying to get me to change my stance on the answer I gave him. My answer stayed the same. I would not generally put put other people's financial interests or their family's best interests in my hands. It's not what we do. As far as the other comment regarding the sisters, I told them I don't recall ever making that comment.
And I would like to address that as well. There's a huge gap in somebody saying, hope you end up on the right side of things, as opposed to saying, I hope you end up on the right side of things, because if you don't, X, Y, and Z. That was never said in the statement, and I've read it 4 or 5 times. So, again, when I talk about storytelling from the board, they're trying to string a narrative together with something that isn't there, quite frankly. It doesn't meet the prima facie case in the legal terminology. So the fact that we were put on the bench to begin with is an injustice to us. I really feel that.
What's next for the both of you? Do you have any idea? If you don't get your jobs back here?
I'm not sure what's next for me. We'll see how things shake out. But again, we haven't completely made that out of the question yet. So we'll see how things shake out next couple weeks.
Yeah, I think the same answer for me. We don't know what's next for us, but I can tell you that I'm never going to stop fighting for this company. I'm never going to stop fighting for the associates of this company, and I'm never going to stop fighting for the culture of this company or Mr. Demoulas and his family.
Yeah, and I would say, like you said the last time, long time we've been around, no regrets.
Well said.
And just before we close it, I'm Justine Griffin, I'm Arthur T. Demoulas' spokesperson, and these two gentlemen have built, as Arthur's left and right hand, an $8 billion company, annual revenue of $8 billion. For context, Another beloved brand in New England is Dunkin' Donuts. They're $1.5 billion. Over the course of the years, they've built this staggeringly successful company with a unique culture that drives it. And they are serious businessmen, and this was not a serious investigation. That statement shows just how Mickey Mouse amateurish it was.
Can you tell us what this means for the average shopper? So, you guys aren't in your positions anymore. RDT might not be in there. Grocery prices are continuing to go up. How does that affect me as I'm going to the grocery store that you guys aren't in your positions anymore?
I don't know if it affects you and how you do your shopping, but I think a lot of the customers we have at our stores are there because of not the pricing so much, but the people that are there and the culture we've built there. You know, and I think I was listening to the replay of the Dan Ray show from last night, and he said, I just don't, after listening to this, and these two guys have been around for a combined 90 years, I don't know if I can go back there. Just the way he knows the company and knows the people there and his experience shopping. He said, I just don't know if I can go back there. So I don't know if that resonates with other people or not.
Yeah, and I would say to that, Mr. Demoulas has built this culture and the people that he works with on a daily basis and built a great system. And most systems will sustain themselves for a certain period of time, but the systems start to break down, especially when people get, off the proper mindset in terms of focus on the customer. So you might not feel it going to pick up that head of lettuce today, but as things go on, if things continue on this trajectory, it's my opinion that you'll see a big difference.
So,
thank you.
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Appreciate it.
Her name again?
That's Justine Griffin.
Griffin?
And both of your names, just real quick.
Oh, Tom Gordon.
Joe Schmidt.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Very good. Thanks, everybody.
Did you gentlemen know the two detectives? Were they working?
I've known Kevin Fioli. We worked together when we were kids, 16 years old.
Okay.